Next slide. Here, in this image, now we will understand what are the various processes which are involved in formation of sedimentary rock. The basic process, we call it as lithification. What is lithification? Lithification means turning the loose sediments into hard rock. But how these loose sediments, they are turned into hard rock or a new type of rock? They undergo various changes. These three processes are the sedimentation, compaction and cementation. In the first image, in the first picture, you can see the sediments, they are lying in the water body. The bluish part, it shows or it resembles the water body. The water which is accumulated in between the sediments of the rocks or the broken parts of the stones, gravels, it may be of different shapes and different sizes. So this first process is evaporation. Here the water gets evaporated from this solid mass or from these parts. So as the water gets evaporated, what remains behind is the salt or the sediments. Now in between, as the water gets evaporated, you can see in the second image where compaction is written, there is a gap between the rocks or between the pebbles. These sediments, these gaps are then filled up by the sand particles or dust particles or the minute particles of soil to make it more compact. In this process, the sediments after piling up are gradually squeezed by the weight of the overlying layers. Right, the topmost layer, it is squeezing the lowermost layer and it hardens the underlying layers. This process is known as compaction, where this material, it becomes much more hard or it becomes compact. Then after once it has become compact, all the excess water has been removed, the space has been occupied by the dust particles or the soil particles, the process of cementation takes place. What does that cementation mean? What is the function of cementing? Cementing means it is bonding together or it is holding the sediments together, packed tightly and in a natural way. Like I give you the example of the what is the work of the masonry people. What does a mason do while constructing a building or a wall? On the brick, he applies a cement and then he puts the second brick. In the same way, layer upon layer, after applying a layer of cement, then a brick, then a cement and brick, what happens? He is making the wall, he is making that construction part very compact. It is bonding, it is holding those bricks tightly. In the same way, this is a naturally occurring process wherein the different natural materials which are occurring in the nature, they may be in the form of silica, in the form of iron, in the form of magnesium, whatever minerals are present, or they may be calcium compounds, including the fossils which are deposited in that. All these materials, they are being bounded together and they are having a packed grip which is bonding or which is changing that compact material into a sedimentary rock. At the end, you can see how the sedimentary rock is formed. Once all the sediments, they get compact, the minerals, they get mixed up. So all these three processes, that is process of evaporation or sedimentation, compaction and cementation, together combine to form lithification. And this is the way how the sedimentary rock is formed. Now this sedimentary rock here, next image you can see, again you can understand in detail first how the weathering or the erosion takes place, wherein the loose material is being carried and transported by the rivers or the flowing stream down. It has been deposited at the river beds or at the ocean floor. Layer upon layer, year after year, with the flow of water, it keeps on piling. See the last circle, you can see the different shades like brown, yellow, dark color, again the yellowish shade. It has been given. What does that shade indicates? Those shade indicates the Again, on the right hand side you can see figure A and B is been given, where in the A figure it indicates the loose material of the sand, soil with the small and bigger granular stones and pebbles, wherein after compaction or after they undergo the process of lithification, they become much more compact and they turn into a hard rock. Now, let us understand the different types of sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks can be classified on the basis of its formation into three categories. First, that is clastic sedimentary rock, or we even call it as mechanically formed sedimentary rock. The second category is chemically formed sedimentary rock, and the third is organically formed sedimentary rock. Let us study it in detail. Now, what does the term clastic means? Clastic means the sediments, when these sediments or the weathered part or the broken parts of the pre-existing rocks, they are carried down and they are deposited at a particular place. They are being transported from one place to another, and they deposit, they get collected layer upon layer, they turn into this sedimentary or this mechanically formed sedimentary rock. So these contain the fragments from the breaking up of the other rocks or the pre-existing rocks, and these sediments we call it as clastic sediments. Most of the time the agents which bring down this type of rocks are the flow of water, the running water from the streams, from waterfalls, and the surface run of water, or due to the movement of the glaciers. Sometimes even wind also act as the weathering agents as they blow a large amount of sand particles from one place to another. The example for this type of rocks are the breccia, conglomerate, sandstone, and the shale. Next is the chemically formed sedimentary rock. Now, what do you mean by chemically formed sedimentary rock? These type of rocks generally they are found in the oceans which are having a large amount of salt content in it. Whenever the chemically dissolved salt in that particular water, it may be a salt lake, it may be a sea, or it may be a part of ocean. The salinity of the ocean it changes from place to place. The salinity of the sea also varies from place to place. And whenever these salts they are separated, or when the water it gets evaporated during the summer season, during the high temperature, what remains back is the salt. The salt is separated from that solution and it tries to stagnate or it tries to remain on the surface, thereby converting into a hard structure, that is the chemically formed sedimentary rock. The example for this type of rock is the rock salt, which is mostly found in the Dead Sea or the Aral Sea, as well as in the Sambar Lake in Rajasthan. Now, why mostly this type of rock is found there? Because Dead Sea, if you have heard students, it is having a large amount of salinity. The level of salt content is more. More the salt content, more there will be remains of this sort of dissolved chemicals after the evaporation of water. So, and one more use, if we try to use this rock salt, most of the time you can see even apart from rock salt, the second example is gypsum. Again, this is most widely used for different structure purposes, and rock salt is again treated to be as a medicinal use. Let us study about the third type of sedimentary rock. We call it as organically formed sedimentary rock. Now, what does the term organically means? Organic means it is formed from the remains of dead plants and animals, or it is made up of the skeletons and the shells of the sea animals or the microorganisms in the dead remains of plants and animals. The remains of plants, when they come into contact with the heat or the temperature under the earth's surface and they decompose, they start changing their original form, and thereby with the increasing heat and pressure of the overlying surface they may